Welcome to Sharing Tea with Dr. C, a podcast where women come together to sip, share, and discuss all things marriage. Join us as we dive into the heart of relationships. We're here to unpack it all in a safe and supportive space. So take a deep breath. Relax. And let's brew some wisdom together. This is Sharing Tea with Dr. C.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us as well. I'm truly glad you're with me. Let's take a deep breath. What do you have? One more day of work? You can make it. I'm so glad you joined me today to sip tea with me, Dr. C. Ladies, I can't wait to share an idea I have. At the end of the podcast, you're going to have to listen to the end. I have an idea, but I can't do it without your help, all right? So please, I need your help. It's going to be good too. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Lord, thank you for your wisdom on how to get rid of marriage slayers so we can enjoy strong, healthy, loving marriages. Amen. I robbed you for the last podcast. I saw it again and I said, wait a minute. I didn't give them any tips on bedding him. Shame on me. So, here are some tips. You ready? You probably know all these, but anyway, I found that they worked quite well for me. Number one, make sure your bedroom is attractive and inviting. Does it smell good? Have you picked up the clothes and all the papers? I mean, you can't get intimate with all these papers and clothes all over the place. That's not appealing at all. And do you make the bed? Well, you get the point. And some candles wouldn't hurt either, okay? Number two, set out some cheese and crackers and strawberries and eat them on the bed. Natural, okay? Then give him a back rub and let your hands just wander. Number three, sprinkle champagne on your body in specific places and ask him to taste the champagne. Number four, spray some whipped cream on his body in strategic places and you lick off the whipped cream. Number five, how many erogenous zones are on the body? Do you know how many? There are 14. Now, both of you discover how many you can find on each other's body. Number six, ask him what he likes and tell him what you like. Communication is so important in every area of the marriage. Let your imagination roam and keep your marriage exciting. All right. Now, let's move on to our topic for today. Love languages. Remember I shared Dr. Harley's book on marital needs? Well, you'll like Dr. Gary Chapman's book on the 5 love languages. When you take the profile in the back of the book, just check and see if you have similar results as you had in Mr. Harley's book. Dr. Harley's book is pretty much similar in his philosophy to Dr. Chapman. But the great thing about Dr. Chapman's book is he has 5 love languages, whereas Dr. Harley has 10 marital needs. You know, Dr. Harley just breaks them down a little more. It's all good. So let's delve into the 5 love languages that Dr. Chapman talks about. Dr. Gary Chapman says, and I quote, "Love is the most important word in the English language and the most confusing," end of quote. The emotional need for love seeks to thrive in every human, and without it, our love tank is empty. And by love tank, I mean our hearts. Our hearts are empty. Maybe his mother didn't love him enough. Or maybe, his father walked out on him. And he suffers from just abandonment and not feeling truly loved. Once married, we've got to keep that love tank full. Oh, at first there's the in-love obsession. Ha ha. I talked about that in another podcast. I was so giddy I couldn't concentrate. I mean, I was giggling all over the place, and I thought about him 24 hours a day. I'd sit at my desk trying to get my work done. I'd have to bring my mind constantly back in. You get married, and after about 2 years, reality sets in. Work, in-laws, kids, bills, maybe you're in school, he's in school, the kids' homework, soccer lessons, dance lessons, piano lessons, parent-teacher conferences, Girl Scouts, whatever, okay? All of these activities kind of zap your strength, doesn't it? What we need is love that grows by choice and not by infatuation. That kind of love requires effort, even when we're tired, work and discipline, and an understanding of how my spouse speaks in his love language, and for him to understand my love language. Hence, Mr. Chapman's 5 love languages. And they are: number 1, words of affirmation. Number 2, quality time. Number 3, receiving gifts. Number 4, acts of service. And number 5, physical touch. Remember, I spoke to you about meeting each other's needs in podcast number 5 in the book by Dr. Harley. He has a profile section you can complete, and also Mr. Chapman has one. I found it most helpful in Reggie's and my 50-year marriage. We paid close attention to books on marriage. We sure did. We gobbled up every book we could find and shared them with other couples. There's always something we can learn. It's imperative to speak the language that's most important to your spouse and vice versa. Love language number 1, words of affirmation. Verbal compliments or words of appreciation are powerful communicators of love, such as, "Oh, you look so handsome. You look like GQ in that suit." Oh, I would tell Reggie that, and he would grin from ear to ear. "I really appreciate how you always have my back." He would always tell me that. And I appreciate you for just being you. I used to tell Reggie all the time, "I love how you love me." And he would tell me all the time, "I just love how you appreciate me and take care of me." Instead of nagging him and about take out the trash, take this out, do this, do that, just thank him for taking the trash out. Well, you say, "No one thanks you for what you do." Well, maybe one day we'll talk about that. But today, we're talking about the husbands. Verbal compliments are terrific motivators rather than nagging words. You want to get their back up, you want them to be passive aggressive, just nag them, and that's sure to follow. And if this is his utmost love language, he will thrive off of compliments. However, we should be complimenting each other all the time, but some people want it more than others. Encouraging words also fall under words of affirmation. Just like we encourage our children, we should be encouraging our spouse as well. Are you paying attention to what your husband is doing? If so, you can always find something to encourage him about. Then there's kind words. Sometimes our words say one thing, but our body language says something else. Words and body language are very important. Compliment your spouse in public, in private, and definitely in front of the kids. Love language number 2, quality time. Giving someone your undivided attention. I don't mean watching Netflix together. No, that's not what I mean, okay? Reggie was guilty of trying to read the newspaper and listen to me at the same time. I impressed upon him that I needed quality, undivided time. Take a walk together. Go to dinner without the kids, and please turn the phones off. A wife who complains to her husband all the time that he spends too much time on the job, and even when he does come home, he's holed up in his office doing work. Well then, this might be your love language. You're demanding quality time. You just want more undivided time and attention from your husband. If you want his focused attention, then tell him. Love language number 3, receiving gifts. Visual symbols of love are more important to some people than others. That's me. A fancy card, a funny card, or a note just saying I love you, cupcake, whatever, just means the world to me. It tells me you thought of me, just me. My love language is receiving gifts. Nothing expensive, except of course on Christmas and birthdays, but just little gifts that let me know you love me and are thinking of me. I was constantly writing Reggie little love notes and giving him funny cards, and while he laughed and smiled, he appreciated it, but that wasn't his love language. That was mine. Love language number 4, acts of service. I told you about all of that in podcast number 5, remember? About marital needs. As I mentioned, when Reggie took the profile, I wanted to see if it matched the profile that he took in Dr. Harley's book. And it did. And then we talked about, okay, how can I meet your needs under acts of service? He said, honey, you know what it is. It's the same. Cook me a dinner, please. So I had to promise again, all right, 2 times a week. That's about all I could do. All right, and you know my daughters, they hated when I cooked. They absolutely hated it. Not unless, I cooked one of my couple of meals that I could do pretty good. Oh God, I would actually get a headache just walking through the kitchen. Reggie was a pastor, so he would tell the congregation, Cynthia gets a headache just walking through the kitchen. Oh, and they would laugh, but it was true. It was true. And oh my God, help me if I cooked anything new and needed a recipe. Child, please, I had to take a nap after I cooked that meal. But Reggie would break out into a big grin when I set the table and placed down the food that I cooked in front of him. Oh boy, oh boy. Now remember I told you what the girl said? He was getting ready to go on a business trip. This was before he quit his job. Oh my God, the girl said, Dad, please, before you go, please make us a pan of lasagna. Please don't make Mom cook. Oh gosh, hurts a girl's ego, doesn't it? Acts of service made Reggie feel content and loved. So I cooked 2 times a week. I found other little things to do as well. Because he was so low maintenance, I had to find things to do just for him, not for the whole family. Take his clothes to the cleaners. I ironed his pocket squares that he wore on Sundays. Just little things, and he loved it. Love language number 5, physical touch. Physical touch can make or break a marriage. It can communicate love or hate. A slap in the face or a hug, which would you prefer? And a slap in the face doesn't necessarily have to be a physical slap. It can be words, harsh words that just take your breath away. Positive physical touch is important in a marriage and not just during sexual intimacy. Physical touch, such as back rubs, putting your hand on his shoulder, sitting close to him when you're watching a movie, rubbing his hand, a brief kiss and a hug before he leaves the door, and other little things, okay? It's very important. If this is your spouse's primary love language, ask him about all you can do to meet his needs in his love language, and he should do the same for you. You'd be surprised at how much happier you both are when you're speaking the same language that makes your loved one feel loved. Well, that's all the time I have for you today. But I do want to leave you with 3 takeaways. Number 1, fill your spouse's love tank. Number 2, discover your and your spouse's primary love language. Number 3, you and your spouse read Dr. Chapman's book and be sure to take the profile at the end. Now, here's what I need your help with, okay? I would like to know what other topics you would like me to speak about, all right? So, go on message, just message on Facebook at Tea with Dr. C. Don't use my other Facebook page. Use Tea with Dr. C and message me a topic you would like me to cover other than marriage. Or if you have questions from my other 8 podcasts, then by all means, please send me those as well. Tell your friends, share this link, and also subscribe, will you? No cost to you. Oh, I hope you enjoyed our time today. I certainly did. Thank you so much for sipping tea with me, Dr. C. Bye-bye.